Hi, this is Jeff with TourneyGuru, and in this video I'm going to walk you through the bracket screen. So you can see here I've already got brackets created, but if I'd come here for the first time after adding participants to my tournament, I would have clicked the Create Brackets button, and that would generate the initial brackets. Just takes a few seconds to do. And it's also something that you can feel free to do leading up to your tournament. So if you just want to kind of have a gut check and see how your brackets are starting to come together, you can continue to create brackets as new participants get added to the tournament. There's no harm in doing that. The table here, you can see the different fields, so we can have the bracket name, the division, weight, the number of participants in each bracket, ultimately what mat those brackets get assigned to, which we'll go over in a little bit. You have an indicator column that as the match is complete in the bracket, it'll show you the percent complete that bracket is. And then there's a way to lock those brackets to prevent overriding future changes, which I'll go over, printing the bracket, and then lastly making the bracket visible to the public. So I'll go over several things here. First of all, if you just want to take a look at the bracket, you can click the hyperlink, and this brings it up in a web form just for a quick view of the bracket itself. Let's say as we're scrolling through here, we notice, based on the counts, this is a common scenario that happens in a lot of open tournaments, especially on the youth level. Here's one where we've got, in our Division 250, there's only one participant registered. So if we want to try to give this wrestler a match, we probably want to move this wrestler up to the 55-pound class. So the way we would do that is actually click on this one hyperlink. This shows us this participant, and now in the bracket drop down we can simply move this wrestler to the next weight class up, and for that matter within this screen we could move this wrestler to any bracket. So if it happened to make more sense to move this wrestler to say a different division, we could do that, so you have complete flexibility in moving the wrestler where they need to go. In this case I'll go ahead and move the wrestler to 55 pounds. Asks if I want to do that. I'm going to click a couple of confirmation screens and click OK. So now you'll notice that Division 255 has 7 participants. So if I click on that link there, we can see everybody that's in there, including this Dylan Kirby, who registered for 50 but is now in the 55-pound weight class. Okay, so as you're making changes like that, this is where the lock icon can come in handy. For example, let's say that later on we end up making some other changes or we add some additional participants into the tournament. In order to get new participants into our brackets, we would have to again click the Create Brackets button to bring them into our brackets. But if all of the brackets are unlocked, it's basically going to just reset it and do everything from scratch again. So what I want to do is, as I'm making manual changes, such as the one I just did by combining a couple of brackets, I'd want to go ahead and lock that bracket. That way, if I click the Create Brackets button again and make those kind of changes, it's going to leave that bracket untouched, and we'll keep it with those 7. Otherwise, if I made a lot of manual changes and click Create Brackets, it would essentially wipe out those manual changes that I made, and I'd have to start over. The next thing I'll go over is actually making changes to an existing bracket as far as the wrestler position. So let's take our same bracket we were just looking at, Division 255, and let's say we want to rearrange those wrestlers. What I do is put a checkbox next to that bracket and click the Modify button. So this brings up a separate window where I've got Wrestler 1 versus Wrestler 2. This indicates the first round. So basically that's the only time you can make changes to the bracket, is before wrestling starts, and adjust where their starting place is on the bracket. So here, this first position would basically be the top of the bracket, so kind of the one position, so 1, 2, 3, 4 going down. Where we see this bye here would be the very bottom of the bracket. So what we can do is start to drag and drop. So let's say we decided we wanted to switch Gavin with Dylan, which, by the way, as you hover over the wrestler, you can see it gives you some basic information about that wrestler. So we'll move Dylan. I'm going to drop him here, move Gavin up, and then drop Dylan down. Okay, so it's just basically a matter of drag and drop. This becomes a little placeholder bucket to my left, and then I can move the wrestlers where I want. If I wanted to give a first round bye up here to my number 1 wrestler in the number 1 position, I could do that. Click save. So that's how you move wrestlers on the brackets themselves. Close out of there. Okay, now let's say we want to, we get through making all of our changes. To be on the safe side, I would recommend go ahead and locking those brackets, and most likely you would have probably done that individually as you made changes, just like I did this first one. But when you're all ready to go, you could hit the select all button here and then click lock, and then that's going to lock all of the brackets now. Then let's say you run into that situation I mentioned earlier where you have some last minute entry or something like that. You add them via the participant screen. Let's say that participant was supposed to be in the Division II 60-pound weight class. Then what I would do is simply unlock that one bracket, click create, and that would bring that wrestler into Division II 60, and then I could go ahead and lock it again. At this point, let's say we get all of our changes made and we're ready to assign brackets to mats. The first thing we need to verify is that we do in fact have mats created. So on our mat screen, we need to have mats here set up, and it's very easy to add the mats. Just give it the mat number, whether you're going to be scoring digitally or using paper bout sheets at that mat, and then submitting. That creates the bracket. I'm going to go ahead and delete that one. Okay, also make sure all of these are checked. That means that they're going to be active for the tournament. Now if I go back to my bracket screen, if you have the premium or deluxe versions, there's an assign to mats option for you, which is basically going to do an auto assign, where it's going to try to evenly distribute the brackets amongst the mats. So you can click that button, and then it'll go ahead and give you those mat assignments. Now here's some where you can see I've only got a single wrestler. I probably would have tried to do something with those before I got to this step, but of course it's not going to assign a mat to a bracket with only one wrestler because there's no matches. Now from here, you still have the ability to make manual changes. So you may go to, if I go to the mat screen again, now I can see how many brackets, how many matches, and how many remaining matches are on each mat. So you may look at that and decide you want to make some modifications to those initial assignments. That's fine. So we can come back to the brackets, and let's say we decided we want to actually make this Division 275. We want to make that on mat 2 instead of mat 1. And down here, this one's going to be mat 3 instead of mat 2. You could do that. Click update mats, and then click OK. And then it'll make that change for you. Once you've finalized your brackets and your mat assignments, now you're ready to print the brackets. So there's a print brackets icon next to each one, so you can individually select a bracket. So if I just wanted to print this one bracket here, I click the print button. It initially loads it as the web version, but then at the same time it's going to download a PDF version, which is the one that you're actually going to want to print. So I'll click OK to open up the PDF. So at this point it's downloading, and now it's opened up into my PDF reader. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and minimize that. Close this. You'll notice there's a green checkbox over top of the printer icon, which then indicates that I've printed that bracket. Now as you continue through the tournament, and as that bracket completes another round, that checkbox will disappear, which would then indicate that that bracket would be ready to print another update for. Now obviously at the start of your tournament, you're not going to want to individually select all of those and print them one by one. So what you could do is, again, use the select all button and then click this print icon here for print selected brackets. And then that's going to load up all of the brackets at once, and it may take several minutes to load them all and to download them all into a single PDF file. But then once they download to your computer, you'll be able to print those in one shot, which will save a lot of time. So just to kind of illustrate that, let me just select maybe these 4, click the print button. So again, loads them in the web format first, and then it prompts to ask about the download. Click OK. And now we've got our PDF file with our brackets. And then from there, I could simply hit the print button. Now again, you'll notice that the brackets that I printed have the green checkbox that indicates that they've been printed. The last icon here is that little eye icon, which means that that's to toggle on or off making these brackets visible to the public. So prior to your tournament start, you can basically specify when you want to make them visible, and you can do that again either individually, or you can do a select all and then say make those brackets visible. Now once your tournament begins and is underway, then your brackets are going to be visible to the public by default. But this is just, again, it's something that allows you to do that in advance of your tournament start. So just a couple other things then to make note of. We haven't talked about the filtering up here above, but this allows you to search for a bracket, filter brackets based on division, based on the weight class, or based on their print status. So if I want to filter just to those brackets that I need to print, I could do that. Click the search button, filters to those. I could select all of those and then print them all. Okay, the next thing I'm going to cover is this little award icon here. So one of the things I did was went back and completed some matches and actually finished a few of the brackets so you could see what these indicators look like as the brackets complete. So you can see this Division 155 pound bracket is 33% complete. As that would get to 100% complete, it would then switch to this award icon, which then alerts me to the fact that that bracket is complete and is ready to give out an award. Oftentimes, as your tournament starts to wind down, the brackets start to complete right on top of each other, and that can get a little hectic to try to keep on top of, and that's really the purpose for these indicators. So as they start to finish, what you can do is just click the icon, and then it'll give a little green check mark to let you know that you've given out awards already for that bracket. So as you give out awards, check the box basically on those to let you know that you've completed them. If you've given out awards to several brackets, you need to mark several of them, then again you could multi-select here and then click this icon, and that would mark several at a time as complete. This other icon here, this is kind of a special one that you'll only see with round robin brackets, and what it indicates is that there's a tie for that round robin bracket, and you need to go in and break those ties. So the way to do that is to click the icon, and then it'll bring this up. And since different tournaments use different tiebreaker criteria, this is completely flexible, so you can use whatever criteria you want to break those ties. But you come in here and you'd say, okay, this guy has got first place, and then say Ethan is third, and Jonathan is second. And then click save. Once you've saved that, now you see this second icon here. That's simply to indicate that this was a bracket that did have to use the tiebreaker. If for some reason you need to change that, you can just click that icon and it comes right back into this screen. And then once you've given out awards, again, you can click the award icon and get the green checkbox next to it. So that covers all the core aspects of bracketing your tournament. In a future video, I will go over how it's possible to reassign brackets to mats once your tournament is started, but we'll save that for another time. Thanks for watching.